This week in the Mainly Moonology podcast, we are looking at, among other things, why life could be a little bit confusing right now and what to do about it. Welcome to the Mainly Moonology podcast. I'm your host, Yasmin Boland, an award-winning astrologer and the Sunday Times best-selling author of books including Moonology and creator of the Moonology Oracle cards. My intention for this podcast is to help you understand how you can create your dream life using mainly Moonology, the moon, as your guide. So let's talk about the idea of uncertainty. For many people, there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now, and the reason is because Neptune and Mars are clashing as Mars retrogrades, and it's just all been extremely difficult for a lot of people. That is mainly over right now, but only for now. Because Mars is retrograding, this Mars-Neptune clash is actually going to repeat again before it concludes. And so what that means is there is still a lot of room for confusion in the coming weeks and, I'm sorry to say, even the coming months. We actually won't see the last of this Mars-Neptune clash until around about March next year. So, it's a lot for people right now. So what I'm going to suggest is that you start to think about the idea of uncertainty. So just take a breath. Just take a breath now. Just breathe in for 4. Hold for a bit and breathe out for 8. How do you feel about the idea that there may not be any certainty in your life for a couple of months? Here's the thing, either you push things too hard right now and end up perhaps smashing a situation because of your impatience, or you allow life to unfold the way it's meant to. I don't really understand why it is, but I know that as humans, there are times when we have to live with uncertainty, whether we want to or not. And this really is one of those times. The good news is that this month, not just this month, this week, Neptune is going to be going forwards again. It's ending its retrograde cycle, and that is really good news because honestly, Neptune's a confusing planet at the best of times, and going backwards, it's even more confusing. So, let's just be grateful that Neptune will end its retrograde cycle in the sign of Pisces and start to go forwards again. And as much as I know it's a really hard thing to do, and, as much as I know I've mentioned it recently, with Neptune prominent again this week, I'm sorry to say, but really, we all need to surrender. And as they say, when you've surrendered and you think you've surrendered as much as you can, surrender again. It's really easy when life isn't going your way to just pack it all in, to decide it's all a load of crap, that all the signs you've been getting are nonsense and that, in fact, nothing's going to work out like you want it to. But surrender again. Pull out your ceremony skills, do your chanting, do your meditation, do whatever it's going to take to just say, this is what I want, this is my problem, divine, I surrender it to you. And I will offer you again those 3 Sanskrit vibrations, Om, Namo, Narayani. They are the best way to let it all go. And I know some of you love it, so I'll just do a 3-line chant of that. So if you can, assuming you're not driving or doing anything else like that, just close your eyes for a moment. We're just going to do this chant 3 times as we remind ourselves, especially as Neptune moves forward again post the new moon. Now is the time to just surrender a little bit more. Here we go. Om Namo Narayani. Om Namo Narayani. Om Namo Narayani. And just remember that old saying, the only way out is through. So whatever else you're going through this week, just remember, the only way out is through. Now, all that said, the week ahead is actually looking relatively positive, okay? Now, it doesn't mean everything's going to work out perfectly. All your dreams are going to come true in 1 week and, any issues you're going through are suddenly going to be over. They could be. Let's not pretend. They could be. However, it's not guaranteed, okay? But here is a quick run through of the energies this week. So we're starting off with Mars trining Saturn, which is really great because it means that it's possible to be a little bit more constructive. Now, that's taking place on November 28, which is Monday. Then on Tuesday, the 29th, we actually have Mercury opposite Mars. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you're in a tense situation with someone, it may be better to avoid them on the 29th because it could well be that issues blow up and you end up having an argument that you didn't want to have. Sometimes you just have to, think, well, the reason I listen to astrology is because I like to know what the energies are, and it's not to say that you won't have an argument another time, but maybe you can try a bit harder to sort through your issues on the Monday rather than the Tuesday, or leave them till the Wednesday. November 30, much better. Even if you did have a bit of an upset on the Tuesday, Wednesday looks much better. Mercury trining Saturn, it's really good for conversations, constructive conversations. Literally, that is the key words of those two planets. Mercury is about communication and conversations. Saturn is the building planet, the construction planet. So constructive conversations really are possible on November 30. December 1, it's actually a good day for romance if you and your partner would like to go out and have a nice time. It might even be November 30 in the evening is better. Just because of the time zone. So maybe let's say November 30 is the time to tap into that lovely Venus opposite Mars. And then we get Mercury squaring Neptune, which could be a little bit more confusion. Sorry to say that's December 2, but hang in there because by the end of the week we get a Sun trine to Chiron, which is actually quite healing. So overall, it's a mixed bag this week. And I have to come back to, the idea that whatever else you do this week, if you can just have a regular devotional practice where you sit down and you chant Om Namo Narayani or I surrender to the divine once a day, it's going to help you. And, even if you can do it with the idea of I surrender my entire life to the divine. I surrender to what's happening in my life right now and I accept that it's for my highest good. Or you can just do it with the spirit of divine, here is my problem. I surrender this problem to you. Okay. It's not really full surrender, but I think it's a really, really good start. And I'm going to finish just by mentioning the work of Byron Katie. If you don't know her work, look her up, get her book, Loving What Is. And she talks about how to accept reality and how to be a lover of reality, whatever that reality is. And she also does this amazing thing where she teaches you to turn your thoughts around in such a way that you can start to see that, even if sometimes you feel like your manifestations aren't working, guess what? They are. Everything that's happening around us is a manifestation of our thoughts. And if we want to change our life, guess what? We have to change our thoughts. I'm going to leave it there just to say, if you like this podcast, if you enjoy it, please share it with a friend, and think about giving me a review on Apple iTunes, because that helps this podcast to reach more people. Have an amazing week. Lots of love. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Mainly Moonology podcast. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe, give us a review, and we'll be eternally grateful. We publish the podcast every Monday, 4 p.m. UK time, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, and I'm afraid to say it's silly o'clock in Australia, but it will be there when you wake up on a Tuesday morning. Have a great week.